starting with courage and getting to confidence, right? So it's that battle of the courage within and the fear that exists. I think that's incredible imagery.
Thank you. And you know what's interesting is the dragon always guards the what? The treasure. You know, there's always something. Whenever you watch a movie, why do we love to watch movies? I think it's because we fit ourselves in that story. Like we're the person that maybe felt like the underdog, and then we go through and the struggles happen along the way where we discover ourselves and we learn, and then we go and face this one thing. And some of us are facing it now. Some of us will face some more. Some of us have faced them in the past. But what's on the other side of that is there's treasure, there's gold, there's purpose, there's, you know, whatever that is. And so, you know, there's, of course, you have the mentor, which is why if you're listening to this podcast, you're listening to an amazing mentor. Taryn is incredible. And she could be someone that could help you navigate the dragons you're slaying, right? How to flourish in that space and how to really just expand. And so I think because we put ourselves in that story, that's why those movies do so well. Because I think subconsciously we're like, wow, I think I'm in one of those places. I either feel like I'm the underdog and I'm like, I'm scared to take this journey, or I'm in the middle of it and there's struggles and I'm just becoming stronger from it, or I'm in this big battle in my life and I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm gonna need all the support I can get and all the tools I can get. And how do I transcend through this moment? And so thank you for sharing that. That was
All right, here we are. Welcome back to Flourish or Fold, Stories of Resilience, where we have well-known people sharing with us their lesser well-known stories of resilience. And we have with us today, what an honor to have you, Henry Ammar, with us on this episode. We were chatting before I started recording and I said, what title do you want me to use? How do I describe you? And you said, speak from your heart. So my heart says that I want to call you a personal development guru. So thank you for empowering me to give you a title today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. That's an honor of a name. So thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be here and thank you for doing everything you're doing. And anybody watching or listening, like I've met Taryn before and she is the real deal. Like she is what you see on social media. If you haven't met her in person, she's just a bright soul. So thank you for who you are and what you do. I'm so grateful to know you. And we were chatting before just how grateful it is, how grateful I am to meet people like you along this path of life that just want to do good in the world. So thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I'm really honored by your words. And you know, we were just chatting about some of our mutual acquaintances, like people we really love in our lives, and you know how I aspire to be more like these people. And what I didn't say, Henry, is well, now that you gave me that beautiful compliment, right? I can say this, which is, it takes one to know one. You know, you are the real deal as well. And I remember when we met, just feeling, you know, attracted to your energy, to your sweetness, to your kindness, to this incredible balance that you have, which I would describe as both vulnerability and strength, which feels really rare to me. And I remember we were sitting in this like very sort of personal conversation with a group of people, and like some stuff started to go down and like people were sharing hard stories and crying, and I was emotionally moved. And I remember just like like slowly getting closer and closer to you with my chair until my head was like on your shoulder and I was like holding on. I almost didn't realize it, but that for me is like such a testament and such an encapsulation to the way that you have this like tremendously present, authentic, vulnerable, and strong energy that you bring with you.
Wow, thank you so much. I remember that. That was awesome. That was a good day. That was awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah. And thanks for having me. Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here. When I got your message, I was like, yes, sign me up.
Yes. And we had to wait, or I should say we got to wait a bit to record this episode because you were out of the country doing some really cool stuff. Do you want to say anything about your international travels?
It was fascinating. So I went to Serbia for a music festival I spoke at, and they had 180,000 people show up, which is during the times, as you know, right now, it was crazy, but they did all testing beforehand, and it was like a whole like process with that country and that city, but there were no COVID upticks, which was fascinating to me after the festival. But it was just really cool. You know, it was, the one thing I'll say is it was, you know, of course it's a good experience. I've been on that stage, I think like 5 or 6 times. And it's of course an amazing experience to speak in front of 30,000+ people, you know, and artists that I've loved, like David Guetta or The Cure, or like other, you know, Martin Garrix or whatever artists that are up there on the stage. But the one fascinating thing this time was seeing human connection and just seeing how people were just in tears seeing each other again and being in a group setting. And I was like, wow, I was so touched. And you saw people from all different countries, like hugging and singing. And it was just like, to me, I was like, wow, like we are such social creatures. And even if you're an introvert, just having love and connection is important. And so that was really cool. So I got to go to a music festival, which was totally different, right? Considering the last 2 years of what we've had. So it's been awesome.
Yeah. And I feel like you might have kind of buried the lead on this, because I feel like you just said that you shared a stage with The Cure and some other large name bands and spoke to 30,000 people. I feel like that's what you might have just said, in addition to all the beautiful things about human connection and love.
Yeah, I'm grateful. You know, it's my world. I love finding ways to help people on an individual scale as well as a large scale. And I realized, because I'm a musician, because I'm an artist as well, I'm also like this, on one end, this is a dichotomy of myself that people always like, wait, what? On one end, I'm on stage and I'm doing music, and I also have my own music. And on the other end, I've been obsessed with human behavior for 23 years, and I'm a total nerd about it. And I've studied everything from like neurolinguistic programming to neuroscience to trauma-informed healing to peak performance and all these things for 23 years. And so on one day you'll find me on stage, and the next day I'll be on a panel with neuroscientists just talking about healing. And to me, I feel like the pop culture world is such a place where we can infuse so much goodness and it goes out to the masses, you know. And so my question has always been, how do I utilize a space that's already open and listened to bring goodness to the world? And so we've been fortunate. Yeah, like, you know, the one year with The Cure, they performed and then the fireworks went off and they're like, you're going on after the fireworks. And I was like, can I go on before the fireworks? Because fireworks is supposed to be the climax. And it's like, when I come out, I'm like, hey guys, you know, like, but but it was awesome. We ended up doing this. This is a cool story. I was like, okay, how do I make this epic? How do I tie in like an empowering thing and started off epic? So what we did was, is I came out and we asked everybody to turn on their lights on their phone, and there's like a lot of people, and they put it up and put a drone, and we flew the drone all the way up to where you see just a batch of lights with like 30,000 people. And the idea was, when we shine our lights individually and we collectively come together, like we literally can light up the universe, because when you fly so high, you could see a patch of light from that place. And I was like, okay, how do I make it a little bit more epic than me coming out and speaking? So that was fun. So I've been really fortunate to speak on the same stages as some big artists. And my question is, you know, and I think this is a question for all of us, anybody listening, is how do I utilize my gifts and talents and the opportunities around me And a lot of times we have to think a little bit outside of the box. And you know, with the festival, we did something with the United Nations World Food Program last September during COVID to raise awareness and funds for people going severely hungry. And then before that, we did a project with Yoko Ono and the Exit Festival to bring an art piece and create a statement of peace 100 years after the treaty was signed from the First World War. So, you know, so we did that. And so I think there's opportunity in all of it. It's kind of like the analogy I just said. If all of us just live in our light, in our gifts, like this is my gifting. I'm an artist. I have like this color hair, but I'm also a nerd about personal development. I love helping people truly heal, truly empower, and truly transform. It's like, that's my world. And so that's the gifting that I am. And I think everybody listening, or Taryn, I see you doing it so incredibly well, is using your own gifting, using your own experiences, using your own light to just lift where you stand. And if all of us just lit ourselves up where we are, you know, it creates this effect that's so much greater than we can imagine.
I love that. I love everything that you're saying. And I wasn't expecting this, but you have effectively instructed us on how we can shine brighter than fireworks. Right?
Hey, yeah.
Like we talk about like shining our light, you know, let it shine, you know, put it out there. You just told us how to shine brighter than fireworks. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So here's a question that just came to me that I hadn't thought we would talk about, which means it's like the best question, right? Always the things that emerge in the moment. So a lot of people ask me, and I'm sure a lot of people ask you, even yesterday I was in an interview, and I for a chief of staff position on my team. And so the woman who was interviewing, I said, you know, at the end of an interview, like as you do, right? You know, you're like, well, do you have any questions for me, right? And she says, it's my favorite interview question of all time, by the way. That she asked, she said, you know, as a young woman, she's like 24, 25. What thoughts do you have on how I figure out my life purpose? And I was like, okay, well, I wasn't expecting that in the interview, right? And amazing. Let's talk about that. So, and it's a question that I think comes up a lot. It's come up for me. It's been this, you know, I think it's a really powerful conversation that we have with ourselves, like over generations. And I'll just add something that I've talked about during the pandemic and quarantine is like how we find purpose in the pause, right?
I love that.
And so as you talk about living in our life and living in our gifting and harnessing things that we might think about being sort of distinct, right? Like healing and self-actualization and music. How have you, what's your journey been like, Henry, in terms of following your purpose or uncovering your purpose, and what sort of advice would you share with others about that?
I love that question. You know, I was interviewing Glennon Doyle once, and
no, you were not.
She's awesome. She's so awesome, so cool. And she said something that I will never forget. And she goes, someone asked, I think, hey, so how do I find my purpose? She said, ask yourself what breaks my heart.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, oh, that's so good. And reflecting on my journey, honestly, so I know I just talked about being on stage in front of all those people, but my nickname used to be Passive. I used to live in fear so badly. I used to feel caged with insecurity. I worried what everybody thought. I'd walk in a room, even though you put a smile on your face, nobody knew what was going on the inside of me, and how much I felt alone, even though I was in a crowded room, how I would put on this front and how I sought validation. I just lived in so much fear, you know, and I wanted so badly to be confident. I wanted so badly to just be who I was and express who I was. And one day, you know, someone put a book in front of me and everything changed. I got obsessed, literally obsessed. I was 17 years old. I got obsessed with personal development. I went to every coach, every seminar, every certification. I interviewed people that were on Forbes lists, interviewed confident people. I said, what makes you tick? And I didn't have confidence. I had courage at the time. My courage became my confidence. And so what ended up happening, which was really interesting, is I look back and I was like, that was my hero's journey. I had to slay those dragons of fear that were in my life. And now that I go through the healing process, recognizing where I didn't feel safe being who I was, which healing had to happen, how to rewire my mind to stepping into being the confident version of myself that I step into very often in my life now. And I realized that, part of it is what breaks your heart, and part of it, usually what breaks our heart, is our hero's journey. Like, what have you struggled with? What is the dragon that you've slayed? Because one of my favorite lines is, whenever you slay a dragon, and I say when because I truly have this belief, and whether it's true or not, like I choose to believe it, is if there's ever anything in front of me that seems really big, life won't give me something that I can't handle if I'm aligned. So I take it as a compliment. So I say, if there's a dragon in front of me, when I slay it, my strength and my wisdom will become equal to the strength of that dragon. And so the difficulties in our lives, the hardships, the insecurities, the inner struggles and the external struggles that we have, our upbringing, our generational traumas, right? All of that comes to play. And for me, the reason why I'm here sharing and the reason why I do what I do is because I was there. I was on that path. And I always say, if I can do it, I truly think anybody could do it, because people don't fully understand how much of a struggle it was for me until like you hear about it. And I remember one time, this was really funny, and I'm not trying to drop names, but I was on a bus. We were going to Jessica Simpson's birthday party back in the day when I was younger, right? Like, as probably like 16, 17. And I was just super shy. I still loved singing, but I wouldn't want to sing in public. I would push myself to do it if I did. And I recently was on a podcast, and the lady was on that bus, and she goes, "Do you remember how you were? How you kept telling me, Henry, hey, don't tell them I sing. What are they going to think of me if they hear that? What are they going to think of me? I don't want to talk on the microphone. Like, what are people going to say about me if I do?" She's like, "What happened to you?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh," because people only see me as the guy right now that is talking for 27 minutes in a row, right? Versus somebody that's just sitting there like, I don't know if I want to say. And I used to force myself to step out of there because I had this conflict. Part of me wanted to go out and shine and be seen and love and give my gift. And part of me was terrified. And so our hero's journey and what breaks our heart can really help us define our purpose.
Yes, I do know. And it's beautiful. I mean, I love that you talk about life purpose as a hero's journey and slaying the dragon. And I also think about slaying the dragon with a sword. And so now I'm thinking about it as like a double-edged sword, and one side of that sword is what breaks our heart. Thank you, Glennon Doyle. And the other side of that sword is the fear, you talked about starting with courage and getting to confidence, right? So it's that battle of the courage within and the fear that exists. I think that's incredible imagery.
Thank you. And what's interesting is the dragon always guards the what? The treasure. There's always something. Whenever you watch a movie, why do we love to watch movies? I think it's because we fit ourselves in that story. Like, we're the person that maybe felt like the underdog, and then we go through and the struggles happen along the way where we discover ourselves and we learn, and then we go and face this one thing. And some of us are facing it now. Some of us will face some more. Some of us have faced them in the past. But what's on the other side of that is there's treasure, there's gold, there's purpose, there's whatever that is. And so there's of course you have the mentor, which is why if you're listening to this podcast, you're listening to an amazing mentor. Taryn is incredible, and she could be someone that could help you navigate the dragons you're slaying, right? How to flourish in that space and how to really just expand. And so I think because we put ourselves in that story, that's why those movies do so well, because I think subconsciously we're like, wow, I think I'm in one of those places. I either feel like I'm the underdog and I'm like, I'm scared to take this journey, or I'm in the middle of it and there's struggles and I'm just becoming stronger from it, or I'm in this big battle in my life and I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm going to need all the support I can get and all the tools I can get. and how do I transcend through this moment? And so thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, you know, with this idea, right? Like, how did you say it? The I love how you said this. This, like, the size of the dragon is
Yeah.
sort of like directly proportional.
Yeah. Yeah.
That?
Your strength will become equal to the strength of the dragon that you slay, or your wisdom will become equal to the magnitude of that in front of you. Because truthfully, if you really think about it, everybody listening, and you and I can attest to this for sure, we've all been through things. We've all struggled with things, and we've made it, and we're here, and we're listening, and we're desiring to grow and learn. And the beauty of that is, if we look back at our wisdom and our knowledge and our experience, I think some of the biggest impact we have, if you really look at history, the people that have made the difference, it's because they dealt with that struggle, and they used that struggle to serve and to help and to grow. And so the strength of that dragon will become equal to the strength and wisdom that you develop in facing it with love and presence and all the tools that we can use. So
yeah. I say it very differently, but I have a very like similar perspective, which is when I'm leading workshops or doing coaching or even speaking, I'll talk about, you know, why is it that we face challenge as humans, you know? Because I think there is sort of this belief for some people, or maybe even it's sort of a myth, right? That like, if we're a good person, you know, if we treat people nice, you know, and sort of practice the golden rule, if we give back to our community, if we're really smart and strategic and visionary, and we can like scan our environment and plan for potential disruptions, then somehow we should be able to like sort of like engineer challenge out of our lives, right? And so I think there's a lot of people who feel like when they face challenge, it's a personal failing in some way, right? Like they didn't do something right. And I love to dispel that myth or dispel that notion that challenge is not the period at the end of the sentence. It's the comma in the sentence. It's an invitation that says, how much do you want this? How important is this to you? How invested are you? And similar to your, I love your very similar to your concept that I love, this idea that like the strength and wisdom that you gain from slaying this dragon will be directly proportional, right, to the sort of size and majesty of the dragon itself. You know, I like to talk about how the bigger the calling, the bigger the challenge, right? Why would that be? Because there's this like challenge anoints us as humans. It allows us to be, you know, to endure a test and determine if, you know, through that challenge we will create a testimony. And it allows us to demonstrate our worthiness to receive those gifts, that wisdom, that strength that you talk about.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. Thank you for sharing that. It's interesting because when we think about where we are and even the challenges where we are, it's when, as I've studied and understood the nervous system and the subconscious mind and everything like that, everything we do and everywhere we are is where we feel safe being subconsciously. And so when I always say, you know, your emotions are messengers, your tests are messengers, everything is a messenger to give you a message. And sometimes I could resist it, but sometimes what you resist will persist, right? So how do I take this opportunity? And it's the serenity prayer. God grant me the peace, the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Like some of us right now, and you know, I give an example with my mother. When my mother was diagnosed with cancer, I knew that I could not change that, but I knew the only person I could change was myself. And I knew I had to make a decision at that point because, you know, I lost my father before that. And I looked at my sister in the hospital and I said, hey, listen, I know we just got this news. And I said, we have to make a decision in advance. How will we show up? I'm not saying don't feel. If we need to cry, we need to feel, but we need to make a decision. How will we show up? And I said, I know I can't control what I can't control, but I must control what I can. You know, and I just have developed the thought of everything really does work together for my good in the best way that I can allow it to. And if I'm going to go through it, I truly might as well grow through it. And so that was, you know, one of the things you talk about with resilience is that was one of the things that taught me so much in my life was those difficult moments. How do I navigate Henry in the midst of the chaos around me? How do I maintain emotional regulation? How do I use my opportunities to heal my past and empower me in this present moment and make sure I'm wiring myself in the right place because my future depends on what I decide right now from this moment, you know? So.
I love that. You know, the primary reason that I wanted to do this, show, was because I felt like people looked at me and, you know, and others, right? And sort of said, yeah, Dr. Taryn, it's really cute, you know, that you do resilience. But sort of what could you possibly know about challenge, right? And it's sort of really easy to look at the person on stage, to look at the me or the you or other folks and sort of get the Reader's Digest, you know, the sort of glossy print version, right? And what I've found has been so encouraging for people is to like be able to kind of like peek behind, you know, that curtain, right? We see Steve Harvey today, he's got a television show and, you know, all these types of things and a beautiful blended family with his wife. But fewer people know his lesser known resilient story of, you know, like being homeless and like washing up in truck stops in the middle of the night, you know, in between gigs and not knowing if he would have enough, you know, sort of gas to get to his shows. And I think when we get that sort of peek behind the curtain, it's so encouraging because people say, it's not that there's this sort of paved road in front of me, right? It's like, I will face challenge. It normalizes the challenge and it inspires people to face their own challenges sort of in service of their dreams. And, you know, Henry, going back to what you were saying about these like dragons, right? That your strength or a person's strength and wisdom and so many other sort of goodies, right? Compassion, connection, right? It becomes sort of enhanced, right? In a proportional way to the challenge or the dragons that we face. I'm curious for you, when you think about, and there hasn't been just one for me, and I know there hasn't been one for you, but when you think about a challenge that you faced that has most significantly or significantly impacted the person you are today, what would that be for you?
Yeah, thank you for asking. You know, for me, I definitely one of them was just walking, feeling uncomfortable in my skin for so long, you know, and just not feeling good enough always. I think there's a subconscious like discomfort that was there. A really big challenge was my mother. My mother was my hero, my best friend, and watching her go down to 70 pounds and watching me be there for her in all aspects of things that you don't expect your person that's taken care of your whole life for you to do that. It really forced me to analyze life. I was at the time I was a director of investments for this $2 billion real estate company, and I was doing really well at the Ocean View office, and it was really sexy and it was beautiful, and I was making money. I was doing great things, and then remember sitting at the hospital with my mom for 12 hours and just advocating for her. And she, was just struggling. And I remember looking at her, I said, man, when it's my time, what do I really want to say? And I at that time, I was like prayerfully thinking and meditating and I decided, I was like, it's time to quit my job. And it's time to utilize what I've been studying for the last X amount of years to help people, not just as a side gig, but immersing myself in that. Because me saying I bought a $200 million building, I'm not going to be thinking about that when I'm 90, as opposed to me saying, man, I use my gifts to help people. And I use my trials to grow, to help people. And, at the last moments of her life, I was holding my mother's hand. And when she passed, I remember saying, Henry, you have a decision to make that will affect the rest of your life right now. And I remember I looked at her and I said these words. I said, Mom, I will honor your life with how I live mine. And to me, that was a pivotal moment for me to just go all in on every waking moment, to utilize every gift, every talent, every thing that I've been blessed with to help my fellow brothers and sisters in this whole world the best that I can. And so that moment for me was a big pivotal moment. I remember sitting there saying, wow, you could decide a lot of things. And there's this metaphor of the carrot, the egg, and the tea bag that I came to my mind. And it says, there's 3 pots of boiling hot water, you can put a carrot in one, an egg in the other, and a tea bag in the third one. And after 10 minutes, you pick up the carrot, and what happens to the carrot? It's mushy, after 10 minutes, you pick up the egg, and what happens to the egg? It's hard. After 10 minutes, you pick up the tea bag. The water smells different, the color's different, it tastes different, it looks different. And it took the best characteristics of that tea bag into that water. And I said, wow, like we could be I could be the carrot and just be like, I can't believe it. Like and I allowed myself to feel the pain. Feeling is really important, but I could have just been stuck in that my whole life. Or I could have become the egg and been hardened and said, man, life sucks and everything is the worst. Or I could be the tea bag and say, how do I utilize this boiling water to extract the best part of me so I could move forward in my life and honor my mother and live the best life that I can live to help as many people as I can. And that moment was pivotal because I could have chosen either one. And, no matter whether you've chosen one or the other, I think there's always room to become the tea bag and allow life to extract the best from you. And that was a big, big moment for me in my life. So yeah, that was a big one.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds so simple, but being next to somebody that you love more than anything in the world and seeing their suffering and you can't do anything about it, the struggle and the pain that happens every single day with that in that moment was just a sacred moment. And I think it's in those moments where we feel the most emotion that it's easy to get just caught up in that emotion versus breathing for a second and saying, what do I need now? And what's the best thing I could do now? Just keeping it that simple sometimes was that simplicity is what helped me make that decision.
Mm-hmm. And say again in that moment, when you sort of like breathe in and connect with that simplicity, say again what you do in that moment. I think that's really powerful because I tend to overcomplicate things in the moment. I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah. I have a phrase I call it, I say walking myself home. And home is that place inside of me where I have that peace. It's God, if you believe in God, or truth or love. It's a place of presence, a little more presence. It's emotional regulation is what it really is. And I realize that there are simple tools when I find myself dysregulated or in a stress response in fight, flight, or freeze mode. How do I walk myself home, in a space? Of course, if I'm not safe, I need to just let my stress response, survival response do its part. But if I am safe, the question always is, okay, if I'm safe, I'm going to become lovingly self-aware of what's happening. And loving is the key word, right? Because truth and love set you free, not truth alone. And we can have a whole conversation about that. And then right after I get to loving self-awareness, it's like, okay, well, what's really happening right now? And let me just set the intention to walk myself home for a moment. And because it's in that space of connectivity, of alignment, where I can make a present choice. And there are different ways to do that. And, with emotional regulation, I think it's really important, especially in a world where it's so easy right now to get caught up in other people's survival responses. So many people are living in stress response. So if one person's a fight, flight, freeze, it's going to be easy for our neuroception, which is like our awareness without even knowing it, to feel on a defense because other people around us are always stressed, and the stress is another form of fear. So there's this energy of this fear cycle going on in the world. So the point is, how do I live in my own energy, and the energy of love and presence and power and confidence? And so when I find myself caught up in that survival response or stress response, and whatever way it shows up, I take a deep breath. I don't resist it. I tell myself my emotion is telling me something, and it's okay to feel my emotion, because what I resist will persist. And so, okay, well, let me take a deep breath. Let me align myself. And so there are different tools. One of them is, a, this psychosomatic tool of breathing. Is one of them is called the 5-10-20, where you breathe in for 5, you hold for 10, and you exhale for 20. And you set an intention, and you get into gratitude during the process of it. It doesn't matter if it's 5-10-20. The exhale has to be longer than the inhale because it signals to your body that you're safe. And then gratitude is one of the highest frequencies. They've done actual heart math. If you look it up, even on their site, whenever we're living in a state of gratitude or a high emotion, our EEG and our EKG are very symbiotic versus frustration, which is jagged. And they say, and it was awesome, I heard, I spoke at the same event as their director of technology, and he said at that event, he said, our studies have shown when you are in a state of gratitude, you are the most intuitive. You are the most in tune. And so for me, I want to make decisions from the part of me that's aligned, that can really make the difference going forward. And so it's okay if I feel an emotion and I'm in a stress response. The question is, what I do at that moment is key. And so there are a lot of different tools. Actually, I can send you a link to a worksheet. I'll have it right here. That's so funny. I honestly didn't even, it's called Walking Home, and it has different techniques that you can use. So I'll send it to you. And if you want to just put it, and you could just send it or put it in the show notes if you want. But there's everything from, having a support system. It's like, okay, if I have this support system, how do I tell them how to support me? And it goes on and on and on. But there's a lot of beautiful ways. And the question is, what makes you feel the most emotionally regulated? And what does home look like for you? And so in those moments where I knew I was feeling an emotion, I had to be conscious and mindful and say, Henry, I know you're feeling this, and it's totally normal because of what's happening with your mom. So take a deep breath and ask yourself, what do I really need right now? And what's the best thing that needs to happen right now? And I think keeping it that simple, I gave you a long answer to a short question, but keeping it that simple of like, let me regulate my emotions, let me walk myself home. Let me ask myself, what do I really need right now? And what is truly the best thing to do? And using my executive function, which makes us such unique beings, right? Human beings, to actually make those choices.
I love it. So one thing that keeps coming to mind for me that I want to make sure that I say out loud is I had the pleasure and the honor of attending one of your virtual workshops. It was probably a year ago, and I was so impressed. I was so impressed with your worksheets and your resources and your material and your knowledge. And as you know, and many people know, I have a doctorate degree, and I did a pre and postdoctoral fellowship in neuropsychology. So I have all this formal training, and I mention that only to not shine a light on myself, but to shine a light on you and say what you have created, are creating, the way that you create intuitive experiences and make what can be difficult concepts of understanding trauma and neuropsychology and linguistic programming. I think the work I know the work that you're sharing with people is so valuable, so incredible. I wonder, I love what you were sharing around walking yourself home or walking myself home. Do we want to do like an enactment here? Like
Sure.
walk us through what that
Yeah.
experience would be like?
Yeah, we could totally do that. I can even, if you want, I could even do like a quick guided process. So if anybody listening, if you're driving, I would recommend you don't close your eyes if you're
Don't
driving.
close your eyes while you're driving. This is a public service announcement.
Yeah, public service. I'll play some music, and
Okay.
if you want to do that, I can totally just take. So I'll tell everybody, in a sense, the language. One of the languages of subconscious mind is imagination, right? And so utilizing the gift of like deeper processes that take us into a more relaxed state, allows us to just experience things, embody things without even naturally even embodying them. So in this process, there's no right or wrong way to do this. Just let your imagination just flow. And I'll just take you through a simple clearing process that I do for myself sometimes in the mornings, because I think a lot of times we'll feel energy throughout the day, we'll go throughout the day. And then it's important that are you still there? Yeah, sorry. I thought it froze for a second. That we clear our energy, we get grounded. And so I'll take you through a quick little gratitude process if you want to do that. Is that okay?
I would love that.
Okay, so I'm gonna play the music. Can you hear that? It's really subtle.
Maybe a little higher. More, give us more.
Okay, I'm gonna play this song because that one just has like a tone. Well, I didn't expect this. This is awesome. Okay.
I didn't either.
Okay, great. So is that good? It's okay. As long as you hear my voice, we should be good.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess we could edit that in because I don't know what happened.
That's all right. I was like, you were like, can you hear this music? And I was like, your voice is like music. And then you were gone.
Oh, okay. So I guess you can edit it in whenever you want to, or if you just keep it going. So, okay. So in this process, there's no right or wrong way to do this. The goal is just to allow yourself to just relax, and we'll just go from there. So if you're listening, you just allow yourself to take a deep, deep breath, and just exhale slowly. And with every breath that you take, just allow yourself to just relax more. And as you continue to take a deep breath, what I'd like you to do is just imagine a light that represents unconditional love. The brightest light you can ever imagine, representing unconditional love and peace and healing and truth. And imagine that light just coming down from the heavens, down from the top of your head, down your forehead, relaxing those little worry wrinkles on your forehead, coming down, relaxing every muscle around your eyes, getting brighter as it comes down, relaxing your jaw, going down your neck into your shoulders, relaxing your shoulders where all the stuff that we carry. And take a deep breath one more time. And exhale slowly, releasing any resistance you may feel. Now imagine that light getting bright as it goes down your arms, your forearms, your hands, your fingertips. And imagine that light getting brighter as it comes back up and goes into your chest. And take a deep breath into your chest. And breathe out slowly. We carry emotions in our body, so allow the light just to go where it needs to go, to heal, to strengthen, to serve. Now for a moment, imagine that light just dipping into your heart and healing and strengthening and lifting your heart. And if you can, if you'd like, you put your hands over your heart and just feel the power of your heart and breathe deeply into your heart. Feel the power of your heart. Just recognize that your heart beats approximately 118,000 times a day and you don't have to do anything for it. Reminding you that you're here for a reason. Allow yourself just to feel grateful for a moment. Feeling the power and the strength within you. And as that light stays there and expands and continues to heal, it expands into your stomach. And take a deep breath into your stomach and feel the air pushing even to your spine. Just feel it go and exhale slowly. And feel that light spread to your pelvis, your calves, your feet, your toes. And just feel that light spread through your whole body. And in that space, what I'd like you to do is imagine every cell in your body just being filled with this light. And for a moment, with your hands on your heart, if you still have them there, I'd like you to think of one thing you could be grateful for. Allow yourself to see it as if you're there, hear it as if you're there, feel it as if it is now. Make it brighter, make it louder, make it bigger. Just allow yourself to savor in that moment of gratitude. And take a deep breath, breathe that in. And as you hold on to that, imagine a second thing you could be grateful for. It could be a small coincidence that happened in your life. Maybe just a demonstration of strength that you've developed just by being here, showing your will, allowing yourself to be grateful within yourself, for being here, for showing up, for listening to this episode all the way through. It's a demonstration that you believe in something greater. You have this desire, this will. It takes a certain kind of person to be here, and you're here. And think of a third thing. Maybe it's a person that you could be grateful for that showed up at a time when you needed them. Just see their face smiling or laughing or whatever it is. Just go to that moment now and see what you saw, hear what you heard, and feel what you felt. And allow yourself to feel grateful now. So think of the first thing. Let's add that second thing onto it. And add that third thing onto it. And now, take as many moments as you can, whether the moments of laughter, gratitude, just grab them and just put them in your heart and just allow yourself to feel gratitude now. And turn the brightness up. And finally, I'd like you to imagine yourself in a large room. And in this room, you see a beautiful golden mirror surrounded with light. And as you walk toward this mirror, you see yourself through the lens of love. And as you look into your own eyes, I'd like you just to look deep into your own eyes and recognize the strength that you've already demonstrated in your life, the resilience that you've shown, the difficult things that you've overcome, and the wisdom that's come, and the demonstration of just the power that's already within you. And so for a moment, I want you to look into your own eyes. And what I'd like you to do is just say thank you. Just look deep into your eyes and just say thank you to yourself. And now as you look deep into your eyes, as you take a deep breath in, allowing yourself to feel it even more, just say the words. If you can out loud, just say, I love you. I love you. And just allow yourself to begin building a stronger, loving relationship with yourself now. That one decision can change everything, and you could decide right now in your life. You could decide to build a stronger relationship with yourself, to recognize the strength that's already within you and the light that you already are, and the desires in your heart to do good in this world. And understanding the word desire, the root is desire, it's of the Father, it's embedded in you for a reason. And as you look one more time in your eyes, take a deep breath and just say thank you. I love you. And now as you take a deep breath in, I want you to imagine that light just coming through your body one more time, just clearing your energy. And allowing yourself to continue to feel grateful throughout this day with every breath that you take. Every second, as the minutes, as the hours, as the days go by, allowing yourself to live in that space of gratitude. And if you ever feel a stress response, you could always come back home. And if you bring yourself back to the room, you could wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, take a deep breath, and welcome back. That's just a simple gratitude process that allows us just to get a little more centered and feel something different in our body. So,
Yeah, that was beautiful. I was truly transported.
awesome.
I I I usually have a lot of difficulty like just sort of getting out of my own head. The quieting my mind part's all right, but like just getting out of my head or, you know, and it's like I could sort of hear what you were saying, but it's like I sort of couldn't. But it was just, I was being transported. It was really beautiful.
Awesome. Thank you for letting me do that. I didn't expect it. I'm glad we did.
Too, too. The unexpected is the best.
Yeah.
Ah, so many beautiful things happening for you, Henry Ammar. Um, what are you looking forward to, or sort of most looking forward to that's coming next for you?
I'm finishing a book, which is awesome. I started working on one, and in the middle of that, I was working with some, neuroscience researchers on like healing and moving forward and doing different things. And in the middle of that, I had a really strong download revelation. It's like, you need to pause this book. And I got this whole revelation of a book on boundaries that I wanted to set, but it's a different type of boundary. It's fascinating. The download was just fascinating. And so I'm finishing that book up right now, and getting ready to launch a lot of new things. I feel like I'm going into a new space. I think we're always evolving.
Mm-hmm.
Always, no matter how much work you do. That's the beauty of this life is I could love myself where I'm at and get excited about where I'm going. And so I have a lot of new creations coming up. I have a mastermind I'm launching. I have events I'm throwing that that will help reach the masses. I have songs that I haven't released yet. A song with Lindsay Sterling and a song with Anna Kana and some other people. And honestly, just looking forward to just helping the world with whatever way I can. And so, a lot of projects. I'm in hyper creation mode. So you'll see them come out as the months go by. And so if you follow me on social media, you'll ride along with the journey with me. So I'm excited.
I love it. I love it. So how can we keep up with you? All these beautiful creations, songs, mastermind, book, events. Uh, Tell us where we can find you and interact and learn from you.
Thank you. Yeah, I have my Instagram is Henry Ammar at HenryAmmar, 2 M's. Facebook, same. If you TikTok, it's the Henry Ammar. And then I have a podcast called Making It Happen with Henry Ammar. And yeah, those are the primary places I swim right now. I'm going to start doing YouTube again, probably in like a month or two. I haven't focused on it really, but I think it'd be a good platform to start putting my energy into. So I'd love to have you join me, and I'm just so grateful to be here. And thank you for having me, and thank you for all that you're doing. And if you've listened this far, you're friggin' awesome, and thank you for being a part of this awesome community. So
Thank you so much. Well, it was a tremendous honor for me to have you on the show with us today, and I'm still processing just all the incredible like nuggets, loaves, bread factories of wisdom that you dropped. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's so good to see you again via Zoom. It's good to be here. Thank you.